Okay, welcome back everyone. We're going to start a few video series on the idea of inequalities. And this video is just going to be a short one. It's going to give you the basic idea. The whole point here is to introduce you to symbols like A is less than B, X is greater than Y, C is less than or equal to D, Z is greater than or equal to W, and this really funny one down here, which we often say E is much, much less than F. The first four of these are really well-defined mathematical concepts. The other one's a bit fuzzy, but you'll see it throughout all of data science, so we really need to name it here. Let's start from the top and draw a real number line. And suppose here's 0, here's the number 2, here's the number 3.1, and let's consider this statement. 2 is less than 3.1. This funny little Pac-Man symbol here, pointing that way, is read is less than. So here's a statement. Let's think about what this statement means and then see why it's true. This statement, 2 is less than 3.1, means 2 is to the left of 3.1 on the real number line, R, which is in fact true. 2 is to the left of 3.1. Let's say 11.78 is also less than 3.1. Say it's about there. In fact, 11.78 is also to the left of 3.1 on the number line. So in general, when I write A less than B, I mean A wherever it is on the real number line, and I want to pick a B to make that true. B has to be somewhere over here. So A has to be the left of B. A common misconception is that when you say A less than B, to say this means literally that A is smaller than B. That actually works when A and B are both positive. Somehow 2 is smaller than 3.1 by the plain English meaning. But I would not say by plain English meaning that a negative 11.78 is smaller than 3.1. It's really just to the left of it. When we write something like 3.1 is greater than 2, this just means 3.1 is to the right of 2 on the real number line, which is true. In fact, A less than B is true if and only if, so this is a fun little mathematical symbol for if and only if, B is greater than A. Okay, so we've really figured out what less than means and what greater than means. Here's this funny symbol, X is less than Y. And you'll actually never see this in a proper math textbook because it's not really a proper mathematical concept. But you'll see this all the time in data science. What this really means, this means X is much, much less than Y. So for example, 1 is much, much less than 1 million might be a reasonable thing. I say reasonable, not true. There's no real way for a judge to judge whether this is true or false. Whereas a statement like 2 less than 3.1, you could say, is that true or false? It's more much, much less is kind of in the eye of the beholder, but we tend to agree what it means. Somehow 1 million dwarfs 1. And that's often very important. Okay, so we figured out what A less than B means. Let's think about less than or equal to. So this statement, A, and then I make this funny symbol. So this reads less than or equal to. First, just in terms of writing, the way you write this is you first write the less than sign, and then you put a 1 line under there. In some sense, you really should put 2 for less than or equal to, and every now and then you'll see that A is less than and then the equal sign of B, but almost always you see less than and 1 line under it. What does this mean? This means that A is less than B, or A equals B. So it's literally just a shorthand. In terms of the real number line, if this is B here, A less than or equal to B means either A is less than B, which means A is somewhere here to the left of B, or A is plopped right on top of B, and A equals B. Okay, fine. So how do we check if a claim like A is less than or equal to B is true if someone gives us specific examples? Let's see. So suppose someone proposed to me that 2 is less than or equal to 3.1. Do we believe them? Well, that person is really saying that at least one of two claims is true. This means that 2 is less than 3.1 or 2 equals 3.1. The first of these claims is true. The second claim is false, but taken together the claim is true. That's the nice thing about OR. You only need to satisfy one requirement. Say, on the other hand, someone claims that 2 is less than or equal to 2. So that means that the person says either 2 is less than 2 or 2 equals 2. First one's false, second one's true. Taken together they're true. And let's take one where we lose. Suppose someone wants to say that 2 is less than or equal to 0.8. This means that either 2 is less than 0.8 or 2 equals 0.8. First one of these is false, the second one is false, and so we don't win. It's false overall. Okay, that concludes the video on basic inequalities. We've learned what less than means, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to, all of which are proper mathematical concepts. We've also learned what it means to say that A is much, much less than B, which is not a proper mathematical concept, but is an intuitive one people use a lot. And that concludes our video for today.